happen right now.
And you'll notice we're not in a different place.
We're not. The plans, what is it to say? The best laid plans of mice and men are off to go astray.
Become derailed by Mercury.
Oh, yesterday was a peach.
Yes.
But it was a good result,
yes.
all in all.
So yesterday I had an appointment that was supposed to be 40 minutes long.
Yes.
And it ended up being 4.5 hours long.
Closer to 5.
So we couldn't go on our trip. So we are going to rearrange,
redo, revisit, replan,
and hope to go in a few days' time.
Yes.
So we still want to go rock shopping. We just couldn't go yesterday.
People keep coming in and buying the rocks. We need more rocks. We should do a Rocktober rockumentary.
I think I said that yesterday. I said we'll take the people along on the ride and we'll show them where we're going, and then
I wonder if there's anybody going to join us this morning.
I have Jen.
Oh, well, there you go. Hello, Jen. And I have nobody as yet. Perhaps I need to do this. Let's see if maybe this makes it work. Because I know sometimes the tube of you can be entertaining. I will twiddle its knobs or whatever you do.
I think I'll just talk. I know it's Which Way Wednesday, but I'll talk a little bit about astrology because these next coming couple of weeks are going to be really interesting.
Hello, Wendy. Got somebody now.
And we will give you the taroscopes later today on our live show tonight.
Oh, yeah, I was supposed to do that. Oh my God, what a day!
I know.
What?
But and I'll talk a little more about this then too. But the first couple of weeks of October, there's a lot of changes, right? So very close to the new moon, Pluto will be going direct. And then over the following couple of weeks, Saturn and Jupiter going direct. So there's that kind of anticipation.
There's a tremor in the force.
Well, anticipation of the forward motion. And, Mercury's going to go direct on the 18th, but we won't feel that till probably a week after that.
Yeah.
So these next few weeks are
these
next few weeks at the maximum we have 6 planets in retrograde.
What could possibly go wrong?
But where they're happening in your chart is really something to pay attention to. For me, Saturn, I'm not having my Saturn return yet, Anton is.
I am. I'm smack bang in it.
Because my natal Saturn is a later degree. I'm a little younger by about a year and a half.
That's a great little snapshot.
Yeah. So, my natal Saturn and Mars are combust in my 6th house of health. And that is why Saturn sitting on them
You're having some health lists.
Well, 3 surgeries pending,
yes.
Right? A thing with my heart, a thing with my thing, a thing with my knee, and yesterday's episode. So I know exactly what's happening because Mars wants to cut me open.
No. I don't think you need to be cut open too much. Maybe a bit of keyhole here and there.
But it's interesting to kind of see where it's coming from and what's happening. But anyway, what we thought we'd talk about today was
Which Way
how
Wednesday? Which is which?
Everyone wants to be a witch at Halloween.
They do though, have you noticed that?
Right, so, there are some muggle things that just kind of jump on the holiday wagon, right?
Really?
Oh, well, let's put out the Halloween decorations and the Thanksgiving decorations and the Christmas decorations and, and before the Halloween candy is stale, we'll have the Valentine candy out or the Easter candy out. So I understand in Muggledom that,
cash.
It's
all about kish.
It's all about the cash. So I get that we have things like Spirit Halloween and these
which is definitely about cash.
Yeah, and these things that point towards witches. But I also see some other more subtle and interesting things. People who would normally never talk about esoteric or spiritual things are starting to talk about it, right? So is it that everyone wants to be a witch at Halloween, or is it that the veil is thin and that Kalangeath is calling people, and even if they don't recognize what's happening, they get sucked in, right? So one of the videos on YouTube that I watch is a a guy called Alex who has a show about his antique store.
Oh, yeah.
And
oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And last night on
What are you
his
gonna
live, he was saying he cleans out houses and does all these things. And he went back to one of the houses that he was cleaning out to talk to the gentleman who had inherited it. And they were in a room with a lamp. And each time they talked about the lady who owned the house, the lamp got dark and then very bright. And it's not a three-way bulb. And he didn't even notice while he was filming because he was focused on the gentleman he was talking to. And then people had said, did you notice that this lamp came up and down? Every time you said her name, it came up and then it went down. Or like to punctuate a sentence that you guys were talking about, it came up and then it went down. And he said, I didn't notice it while I was filming it. I didn't notice it while I was editing. He said, but I've gone back and looked, and I really do believe that the spirit of the lady is still in her home. So I thought, well, that's interesting, because this is a person who would never speak about esoteric spiritual
Yeah, not really.
mediumship
Yeah,
things.
he's very PG, I think.
And I don't know if it's just that you and I are in sync with the cycles of nature. So we've been preparing for ancestors now for a couple of weeks. Like there's a thing we do called the Ancestors Wreath. So we've been thinking about that. And then, of course, in our...
How to do it over Zoom,
Yeah, and in our lives, we would call forth an ancestor at Kalangaeaf. And
we do.
we've
do.
noticed all these Ancestry.com
adverts, like off the chart right now. So the veil is definitely thinner. And you could the left brain side of you that rationalizes and all that could say, oh yes, well the nights are growing longer,
Right, people are going to be
we're going to be
inside.
heading inside, so naturally your thoughts turn into introspection, and you think about memories that you have in your home, and perhaps the smells of cooking in the kitchen,
Or
and
you're
all that
getting
sort
out
of stuff.
some decorations or preparing your home, and maybe they're sentimental pieces
And we're thinking towards perhaps the gatherings around Thanksgiving,
that we
when
can't
people,
have again this year.
Well, I'm sure some people will throw it out the window, bless them. But caution, that is, which they do all the time. But but who's zooming who? Who's triggering this?
Right.
Who's making us think about this?
That which you were seeking is causing you to see.
You say, well, it's a natural thing this time of year, but is it? Is not the nature of nature the thing we're talking about? The very nature of nature?
Right.
So,
why do we have these celebrations at this time?
Yes.
They're a lot older than let's put out the Halloween candy and rape the people of their money.
How. And it's interesting that, in the traditional Celtic calendar, which we sort of follow, originally there was just the light half and the dark half of the year. And it was dead easy. You would have Callan Mai or Callan Have, the beginning of summer, and this was marked by the bloom of the hawthorn. Yeah, once that hawthorn blooms, the risk of frost is past, and it's perfectly safe to plant. Animals start giving birth, all this stuff, and boom, everything bursts into vibrancy and life.
Yeah.
However, at Kalangaeaf,
the opposite time,
when we knock with the blackthorn wand at the opposite end of the year,
right? So we have whitethorn and blackthorn at the gates of the veil. Okay.
Which are almost similar, like the pillars on the tree of life, if you will. The pillars of severity and mercy. Ooh, there's thought for you. No, but at that point, traditionally, Kalangaeaf wasn't a pie on the calendar. It wasn't, it's exactly this.
It's a 6-month season.
It was the first frost. And the first frost means the end of the growing season. That's it. Life as we know it, we're no longer going to be able to harvest crops. The crops have been taken by
But interestingly enough, the first day of winter astronomically is marked at 15 degrees Scorpio. And most of the time, that is when we see the first frost.
15 degrees Scorpio. Let's talk about that for a minute. Scorpio, fixed water. Alban Elved just had it. The height of water, the height of the womb, the peak of the seeds, if you will. But now we look at the other side of Scorpio and what it is, because it very much is
the deep, the
dark, and
the psyche.
And death.
And death. Well, and look,
So
When
15
people were
degrees, right in the middle of a
that
fixed water.
that is the beginning of Callan Gaeaf. And during that time, people did have to decide what animals were going to be slaughtered.
Yeah.
So there was this whole idea of the spirit or the soul of things kind of still in the air. And, it's the idea where I guess horror movies came from in a sense, because now you might be in your little farmhouse in the middle of nowhere with very little access to things that could bring you light in the night.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like you're not going to burn all of your oil or all of your fuel or all of your candles, so you would be frightened because you couldn't see.
Things that go bump in the night.
So you can see how these, it's like a symbiotic relationship of how things grew from that time frame.
It's really interesting, but one of the things that I've found personally as I've gotten further along this path is I'm not frightened of the dark. No, I'm not. In fact, I kind of love it now. I love the peace. I love the dark. It's inconvenient when you fall over something like a cat or you tread on a sharp
and
object.
Speaking of cats, Tracy says, "Good morning, no Skittle today." She doesn't like this table.
Well, she's not twigged that we're down here yet because she was all over you yesterday. I don't know. And you're wearing another cat?
I'm wearing another cat. Maybe she's afraid of that.
Jealous. That must be it.
Anyway,
Jealous.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I love to get out into the night sky now and look up, and I love it almost when there's a new moon. And we're fortunate enough where we have our little house here. We haven't got too much light pollution, so we can actually see better. I mean, we can't wait till we get to Celtica. There is no light pollution down there, and it's amazing when you look up. And undoubtedly, the Celts were fantastic astral navigators, and so whilst it's easy to know where you're going at night, it has its downsides because there are more predators that also use the night for cover. so safer to move in the day, but easier to move at night, providing you've got enough light to see that you're not falling over a cliff or down a hole or something like that. But we are inherently frightened of things we cannot see. And I don't know why that. I mean, part of that may be the biological, genetically programmed response of defense. We can't see what it is. We can't make a proper threat assessment. So we have this inherent anxiety or fear or whatever.
Give me my bowl.
Take it. But yeah, I love.
But it does seem that a lot of people who, it's kind of like the Christians that only want to go to church at Christmas or Easter. We seem to see a lot of witches come out of the woodwork for Samhain or Callan Gaeaf, right? They're like, oh, could I come to the ritual? Oh, could I, blah, blah, blah. And
the most we've ever had, this is prior to COVID, obviously, the most we've ever had is like 81 people, wasn't it? For
one outdoor Samhain,
That was ridiculous, yeah. Where have you all come from?
We made like 2 rings. People were seated on benches, and they only hold about 45 or 50 people. And then people were seated in front of them. And it was unfortunate we did not have enough things to kind of go around. And
well, here's the thing, people that come all the time give up their stuff, as is the way.
Yeah.
And
then the next day we found some of them stomped into the ground, and it was just really rude.
Yeah.
So please don't think that we are being rude by not just allowing 50 new people to come to something. Our rites and rituals are sacred, and we want our community to be able to, I want to say the word enjoy, but experience community during our highest holy day.
To experience the closeness of their own community.
Right, and so we're not going to be on our soapbox to be nasty to people, but if you've never come to ritual, you're probably not going to get a seat at Callan Gaeaf.
There is that.
We would ask you to come the following service, which would probably be a new moon on like November,
Yeah.
beginning of November. Or something.
Although, you know, part of it is what we ought to do is charge a fortune for admission and stick it towards Celtica. I mean, maybe.
Oh, for new people, if you've never come to Circle,
$50.
for $50 you can come to
$50.
Calendar.
Come on.
Yeah.
Give us your money, you know. We could do that. We might, you know, because they're obviously, you know, understanding the idea of cashmas and all that. You know,
Right.
oh, it's the holidays. I have to go out and spend money I haven't got on things that people don't want for people I don't like. You know, this is the way.
What also upsets me is the people who dress in traditional Welsh dress for Halloween.
Do they know it's traditional Welsh?
No.
dress?
So they dress as what they would call like an ugly witch, and they green their face and they put warts on and craggly, crooked hands, and that's an homage to Caradwyn, but we don't have time to go into that.
That was the church that painted her in that light.
Right.
Tried to say even her name means crooked woman. And
So, you know, we have New Paltz has a Halloween parade, which I understand is wonderful for the community. And then, like, you know, in the past, obviously not now, 500 or 600 trick-or-treaters would come to town, and we would not be able to, they always have it on the 31st, so we would not be able to have our ritual for the public, and we'd have to kind of guard our home. It was really bad there for a while. It's toned down a bit now. But imagine if we dressed as Arab-looking Jesuses.
Disheveled. Let's actually do a true to form the way
with a crown of thorns dripping blood nailed to a cross, and had a parade of ugly Jesuses, and then went to the church and asked for a handout.
Demanded candy.
So
hot chocolate and candy, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, we're not saying that Muggles shouldn't be able to enjoy their holiday of Halloween. We just wish that people would be a little more respectful sometimes to what the real holiday is for Wiccans or pagans. But, you know, it is what you make of it. So we've come to terms with it, and we try not to have our gathering on the night of the parade.
If
we can help it.
It's where it happens on a Friday is the problem, because we have our public gatherings on a Friday.
No, it doesn't this year.
I have to tell you the other crazy tale, even though it's not Fantastic Friday. And this is speaking of ancestors as well. My mum and dad, when they came over, and you know, more power to their elbow, we brought them over here when they were in their 80s, you know. And my mum and dad used to love sitting on the porch. My dad particularly, handing out stuff to the kids. I mean,
right, we used to hand out crystals.
We gave crystals away. Of course
I'll
we
tell you a
did.
story
We're
about
crystals.
that,
That's
too.
what we're going. I was going to go there. You tell it then. You tell it then.
Oh, the crystals you're talking about?
The
or your
one
dad.
where we got the call. Oh, you're going to talk about my dad or the crystals? Because I was going to talk about the call we got from some rocket scientist of a police officer.
Yes. Well, I'll say two things about Anton's parents. They were brave enough to actually come to Calangave, to our public Samhain ritual.
My mum loved it.
And his mom said, I could feel me dad. I could feel me dad. Come in the West Gate with me. And she was really kind of taken back. So that was lovely. But we used to give out different crystals. And this was our tradition for probably
forever.
10 or 15 years.
Easily.
We gave a different baby crystal, you know, the ones that are like, hey, Samaj.
Well, they'd be $1 now.
Right, but they were at the time like 50 cents, 25 cents, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was like a Charlie Brown Halloween, and the kids loved it.
Oh, yeah.
And I was running out of different ones to give. So this one year, I gave away Copal.
Beautiful.
Now, Copal is a young amber, and it's sort of like a amber colored and not as translucent as amber would be, like a little frosty.
Yeah, it's fossilized sap, but it's not. It's
and
not
you can
quite
also
as old
burn
as
it. It's a resin.
Yeah.
So it has an incense kind of feel and smell to it. So I put it in little tiny Ziploc bags rather than just throw it into the kids' bags like I would have if it was a rose quartz or a clear quartz. Because I didn't want the smell to tamper with their candy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So of course, a couple days after Halloween, I get this phone call from a detective who wanted to know what it was I gave out on Halloween. And I said, Copal, it's a resin. Do you have any left? And I said, I do have bigger pieces, but I don't have any left of the smaller pieces because we gave away like 600 of them. So he came to inspect because he thought I was giving away drugs, because a parent had called and said that the Purple House was giving their children drugs, crack cocaine. Now, it could be easily tested to know that it wasn't crack.
He tested it and determined it wasn't.
And I said, do you really think that a little mom and pop store like this would have the money to give away 600 cocaine pieces? I don't know what you have, he says.
I'm not, what should we say? I'm not a street pharmacist, so I'm not entirely clear of what the street value is of a decent sized rock of crack cocaine. But we're talking about a size about that big.
How many tumbled
probably $100 at a guess.
I don't know.
At a guess.
I have no idea. I have no idea, but...
So we gave away 60 grand in crack cocaine to the juvenile population of New Paltz and surrounding area. Do you think that's likely?
But whomever was the brilliant parent that turned in the hippie house for giving away drugs on Halloween...
Come have a chat with us. I'd love to speak with you.
That's the last year that we gave away crystals. And
I'd like you to raise your hand to the public and say, it was my fault. I screwed this up.
Stupid I am.
Forever.
Boy, we're really on a downer today, aren't we?
No, anyway, I just the stupidity of people just gets me. Sometimes.
Well, the bizarreness of the detective coming after they tested it and knew it wasn't crack.
What are you doing here? This is our tradition. What are you know?
So anyway, that's the last year that we gave away any rocks to the kids.
You're gonna get a shitty Tootsie Roll now.
And then we had, the grown-ups used to like the rocks too that came with the kids, and so they've been asking the last few years.
Give me the rocks.
Obviously not during COVID, but you don't have any rocks today?
Nope.
So now we give away lollipops or something cheesy. But Halloween is always an interesting time for us to deal with because of our dedication to our faith and the disrespect that is out there.
It is because, Samhain for us, or Calangaea, not just marks the start of winter, but it is our most highest of holidays, where we really do recognise our ancestors, because without our ancestors, none of us would be. And I like to try and point this out as if you can imagine yourself stood and your mum and your dad on your shoulders, and on their shoulders their mums and dads, and on their shoulders their mums and dads, and you at the head of this phalanx going back, more than you could possibly imagine, and you at the head of it, you begin to realise you are the result, literally, of the love of thousands. And that's, we forget, we dishonour our venerable ancestors. We dishonour our elderly and senior citizens. We see them as a burden, and we should never do that. It's National Coffee Day, if you'd be pleased to note, so we probably should have more coffee. I've just got a note to that effect.
All right, so Tracy's saying, I have a question that may not really be related. There are 6 planets in retrograde, and I'm wondering what that means as opposed to just Mercury retrograde. Sorry if you already talked about it. Well, we've been talking about it all week, and we will talk about it tonight on our live show where we read the taroscopes. But basically what I'll say is, if we look at astrology as a language, each planet could have 1 or 2 words that it means, and retrograde means the lesson is being repeated. So if we see like Pluto is what needs to be regenerated, you're going to get that lesson repeated.
It is generational.
What needs to be looked at as karma or putting down roots? Saturn is that lesson. Jupiter, what do you need to pay attention to and expand? The retrograde is that lesson. Mercury is, we know, communication. And the outer planets, Neptune and Uranus, are generational as well. So Neptune is the higher octave of Mercury, so we're kind of getting a double whammy of Mercury retrograde. And Uranus is the planet of earth-shaking, earth-quaking chaos. So these next couple of weeks are very, very interesting, and do your best to navigate them. But if you come tonight to our live, you'll find out more.
We'll dig it because our plans, of course, have changed, courtesy of Mercury. Revisit, replan, rework things. So yeah, this evening, why don't we do that? Why don't we not just do the tarot scopes, but let's really dig into some astrology as well? So
okay.
yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? We can do that. So why don't you join us this evening about what?
5:30?
5:30ish? How about that? There's an open invitation for you. Bring a friend. Bring several even. Why not? Do like, comment, and subscribe, because it helps. We need to be less of a well-kept secret. And the card of the day is the sun.
Again.
Oh, I like this card, though. I do.
All
We've had a lot of sunny cards of late. That's good. We had strength the other day.
Today, I feel like this is about recognizing what needs to be reborn in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
All these retrograde planets are asking you what it is you need to redo. So today, think about what needs to be regenerated, redone, reorganized, and find a way to regenerate yourself.
Modern. The wall is behind you. Do not turn the horse around and try and re-engage the wall. Let's move forwards. Obstacles are behind you. Don't hop back. Don't drag the past into the present. Move forwards. Feel the sun on your bones. Go for it. Give it large. Give it large. That's my advice for you today. Give it chuffing large. And Gilda made it for card of the day. Gilda, it's a cracker this morning. You got to roll back and see it. It was interesting. and join us later, please. For,
5:30. We're going to do tarot scopes, which will give you your insight for the coming month, and I'll try to talk a little bit about how I came to those conclusions.
So thank you so much for joining us. We've got to go to the races and get all manner of all sorts of
we got to
sorts
reorganize everything that we thought we had organized.
Yeah,
so.
Redo, revisit, reorganize, revamp, all the fun stuff. But it's okay. It all actually worked out well yesterday. It was a good day.
It was a good day,
even though
in the end.
It was chuffing frustrating while we were going through it.
And very stressful.
Stressful and frustrating, but end result worked out beautifully. So it's all good. It's all good. Listen, thank you so much. It's been a joy and a privilege. And do please like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, all that fun stuff. Have a